Today I want to talk about the 1997 movie Mrs. Brown, starring Judi Dench as Queen Victoria and Billy Connolly as John Brown. This movie is the true story of Queen Victoria's depression after the death of her beloved husband Prince Albert. The Queen has withdrawn from public life, so the court appoints a former servant of Prince Albert, John Brown, to help her recover from her grief. John Brown's unorthodox ways and disdain for protocol draws the Queen out of her shell, and the brash Scot becomes her sole confidant. There are many historical rumours about Queen Victoria and John Brown. Some say they were lovers, and we will never know for sure, but we know that she probably had a crush on him. Queen Victoria even described John Brown in her diary as her heart's best treasure. However, their growing closeness causes a stir, and scandalous rumours begin to circulate about the exact nature of their relationship, and her 9 children grow to despise and resent him, especially her oldest son Bertie, who is played by David Westhead. The movie has a small subplot about Parliament and the Tory government trying to keep support of the people by using the reclusive Queen as a figurehead in their upcoming election. But it adds very little to the main story, apart from being a building block of tension for Queen Victoria and Bertie's relationship. I have wanted to watch this movie for years, but I have never got round to it until finally last week I decided to watch it because it came up on BBC iPlayer. The joys of lockdown and having all the free time in the world. It was everything I thought it would be and more. Judi Dench is the best Queen Victoria I have ever seen, and she really looks the part, being the right age and height for the movie when it was filmed. I really loved the scene in the movie when Queen Victoria takes her daughters swimming. The amount of effort needed so the Queen and princesses could go for a swim was very interesting, but the Queen commanding her teenage daughters to swim when they obviously didn't want to was very funny. Billy Connolly's acting in this movie is great. I am so used to seeing him as a comedian. It was really awesome seeing him stretch his acting ability. And of course, he looks the part and has the perfect accent. All of Billy Connolly's scenes with Gerard Butler, who is playing Archie Brown, John Brown's younger brother, were very good. You really got the sense of the family power dynamic shifting as their status at court shifted, though I was not expecting to see them both swimming naked in a period drama. It did add to the sense of closeness between the brothers, and gave the movie a light-hearted feel. There is also the scene in the movie where John Brown takes the Queen on an impromptu visit to his family, and his sister is very cross because the house is not clean. I found that very funny and realistic. It was also great getting to see more of Queen Victoria's children in this movie, because most movies only focus on her relationship with Bertie. I really loved seeing more of Queen Victoria's daughters, as they are normally left out of any movie about Queen Victoria. I do know I'm being a history nerd here, but give me some slack. I really enjoyed David Westhead as Bertie, Prince of Wales. Though the role of Bertie is rather small, he was perfect, and he had the right accent and speech inflections. I was also very happy that the movie did not forget to include Bertie's wife, Alexandra of Denmark, as I have a history soft spot for the fashionable, dazzling princess. She is played by Sarah Stewart. They gave her the wrong hair colour, but I can live with that. I'll try not to be too much of a stickler for historical accuracy. I was a little upset I could not find a photograph of Sarah Stewart in costume as Princess Alexandra, so I hope this portrait will suffice. The costumes in this movie are very beautiful and historically accurate. I particularly liked the mourning garments worn by Queen Victoria and the princesses. The royal tartan was also in evidence, and I was very happy to see they included that detail in a movie mainly based based in Scotland. This movie is also a very good unintended prequel to the movie Victoria Abdul, which came out 20 years later in 2017, and which also stars Judi Dench as an older Queen Victoria. I will be talking about that movie next time on this channel. This movie got 7.2 on IMDb and 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. It also won a number of Academy Awards. I give this movie 9 out of 10, and I will definitely be rewatching it at some point very soon. I feel this movie has been largely forgotten in recent years as it is not up on streaming services such as Netflix, but it is available on BBC iPlayer at the moment, and I feel it deserves more attention. Today I want to talk about the 2017 movie Victoria Abdul. I actually went to the cinema to watch this movie when it came out. I was really excited to see it because I had watched a brilliant documentary on the subject on Channel 4 called Queen Victoria's Last Love, Abdul Karim. It is still available on all four, and I highly recommend it to anybody who enjoyed this movie. I will put a link in the description. This movie stars Judi Dench reprising her role as Queen Victoria, and she is just as good as she was 20 years ago in Mrs. Brown in 1997. Ali Fazal plays the leading role of Abdul Karim, and he does it very well, being ambitious but also very caring and funny. The plot of this movie is that Abdul Karim, a young prison clerk from India, travels to present Queen Victoria with a mohair for her Golden Jubilee and strikes up an unlikely friendship with her, becoming her moochie or teacher about India. They face a large amount of gossip over their friendship, mainly because Abdul is a young, attractive Indian man. But Queen Victoria faces down the rumours and criticism, keeping her friend by her side. It is a touching, true story of people from different worlds forming a strong bond. This movie is funny and sad in equal measure, but I think the funny moments stay with you after the movie finishes. One scene in the movie I really love is when Queen Victoria finally gets a mango and is about to try it for the first time, when Abdul declares that the mango is off, and there is a whole to-do about the fact. I find this scene very funny. In fact, every time I see a mango now, I think about it. There is also a scene where Queen Victoria's personal doctor, played by Paul Higgins, discovers that Abdul is suffering from an STI and announces very loudly that the moochie has the clap, which is also very funny as it is set in a royal court setting. A very good comic element to this movie is Abdul's friend Mohammed, played by Adel Katir. I apologise for probably mispronouncing his name. His character is brilliant, and his dislike of England and the weather is so complete and justified. It is an ongoing gag. However, the fact that he dies from the cold is heartbreaking, and you feel Abdul's guilt about not allowing his friend to return to India. There is also a very touching scene where Queen Victoria takes Abdul to a Scottish island in the middle of a loch via rowboat, and describes taking John Brown and Prince Albert there. You can even see the same island in the movie Mrs. Brown, and I thought it was a very good touch, and one of the reasons I consider this movie an unofficial sequel. Eddie Izzard is a perfect Bertie Prince of Wales. He is absolutely amazing in every respect. I would have liked to have seen more of Queen Victoria's other immediate family, however. There is a lot of focus on Bertie and the courtiers, but I would like to have seen at least one of her daughters make a small appearance. We do get to meet her oldest grandchild at the end, however. Kaiser Wilhelm II, who started off the Second World War, makes a brief cameo. This movie is a very good introduction to historical fiction, but it does have some very big inaccuracies. For example, Abdul was not with Queen Victoria when she died. He was living back in India, essentially in exile from court, due to hostile feeling against him. All his belongings from Queen Victoria, though, letters and other personal effects, were burnt after Queen Victoria's death, however. The inaccuracies in this movie are not over the top, however, and it is still enjoyable and watchable as a history buff. This movie got 6.8 on IMDb and 66% on Rotten Tomatoes, so quite a bit less than Mrs. Brown, but I think that is because the movie has a more light-hearted feel to it. It is available from time to time on BBC iPlayer, so if you would like to watch it, keep an eye out there. I give this movie 8 out of 10. It is very good and worth watching, but it is not overly serious, and that lets it down in a few respects. The costumes in this movie, however, more than make up for any fault with it. They were designed by Consolata Boyle, I am probably murdering the pronunciation of her name, and are absolutely to die for. I really loved being able to see the fashion drawings that they worked from when designing. I love when movies make their costume design process open to the public. But I am a massive fashion and textile design nerd